It's been 3 weeks ago today that Hurricane Irma hit here. We've done a lot of trimming of the trees, of the tears, but there's still more to do. And we've taken a whole lot of branches out to the street, but there's more to do there also. A few days ago, one of our mowers was finally fixed, so it's looking a little more civilized here. There's always more to do as far as getting some of these dead twigs off of the trees, but that's fairly minor. If we miss them this year, we can just trim back more next year, hopefully, to healthy wood. Here's some damage that wasn't immediately obvious before. This was a 100-gallon lychee tree, and apparently what Irma did was snap the plant off of its roots that had gone into the ground. We hadn't moved this pot for quite some time, so a lot of its root system was underground. But it sure looks like that's a dead tree. Here's the kaimito, or star apple, that we propped up. Still looks green where the leaves have held. Need a little bit more trimming in some of the branches, but we want to keep this as active as possible. Here's the Walkabout that we propped up and tied up. Looks very good. Gotten most of the shade house tied up. But it's been tough to finish this project. It's just one of those things that you hit a wall on. This noni over here needs to be taken out entirely. Of course, would be handy to have this screen on top, providing some shade for these trees. Over here is less of a problem because there's really nothing that we're purposefully growing on underneath this last section of shade house. So yeah, perhaps this morning I'll be able to tie a few more sections on this shade house. revisit the bananas. It's looking more and more normal. So the ones, of course, right before the hurricane that we cut back so that they wouldn't topple over. Here's a sugar apple that was pushed over by the storm, and we haven't gotten to propping it up yet. It's a rather shallow rooted plant, and so it's easy for the wind to topple it over. The leaves still look pretty good, so I think that putting it up in a few days should work out fine. I had cut 1 or 2 branches off almost immediately after I found it. This area just yesterday became civilized. Was massively overgrown because of all the branches that came down and the broken lawnmower. We were not able to get this area mowed or cleaned up right away. This tree had some major limbs come out from high up, and actually this tree was on the target list as far as making it lots smaller, so that should be easier now. Still have one of the branches we haven't cut out yet. So things are getting back to normal, but it's tough to get these last few projects completed. It's just these branches are in a lot of different places. I got more than 90% of them cleaned up. I'd say more like 98%. But that last 2% has been tough. It's hard to get motivated after a certain point. This is one of the projects that actually restores my energy. This branch up here, is one that I've been top working. Started doing that about a year ago, and it just got blasted by the hurricane. Some of the grafts were blown off, and so I'm regrafting, and whoa, there's another one of those lizards. So anyway, the idea is to regraft, and also to make sure that the new growth is not interfering with the whole project. So you got to take off these little shoots while they're young, and so all the energy goes to the grafts. So I'm looking forward to having this tree in production, and so doing what I can to make it completely grafted again. And then we have this tree, which is further behind. I started this project later, but working on the new growth coming out of these tall branches, grafting that to the new varieties, which I'm really looking forward to that coming into production too. This branch is another variety, and that made it through the hurricane very well. regrafting a few areas and also adding some grafts to new growth. That's Angie over there. This is Phoenix. That's doing great too. Just lost a few grafts and just finding a few new places to put new grafts on. This is Carla. Every one of the Carlas made it through the storm, but then there's some areas that I haven't grafted yet, so of course working on that. And this whole area is Julie, and some of the grafts made it through, and other ones really got beat up by the storm. But we have lots of new shoots, so I can sort of pick and choose which ones to graft in onto, and it's I'm hoping that we can finish this before the cold weather hits. Cold being a relative term here. So anyway, that one is coming along. You can see the southeast side of this tree. This is Hayden. Just having a lot of those broken branches, a lot of dead leaves, and then the new leaves are almost the same color, so if you're far enough away you don't notice a big difference. This branch is actually a branch of Hayden. It comes off of the tree here and sort of goes along the ground. But this one, I had 7 grafts of Sonpari on it, and only 3 survived the hurricane, so I'm working on regrafting some other areas. I took the opportunity to cut it back further, and so that it'll be easier to graft onto and reach the fruit. And then the last thing that I'll mention is this area of the tree. This particular branch here is Juliet, and the rest of it is Julie. And this area went through the storm great. There's, I think, one small branch that didn't make it. This might have been it right here. Trim that off. But everything else did great. I had trimmed off one growth flush from everything, and that helped, of course. And also being lower to the ground, was helpful. The limbs and branches and stuff, or shoots that were high up in trees, were the ones that were most vulnerable. But anyway, bottom line is, we're almost through the cleanup, and I think that the production for next year, mangoes next year, should be not affected by the storm. So that's a quick look at what happened with Hurricane Irma here. Again, I really don't have any complaints. There's always extra work involved with hurricanes, but gosh, we're very fortunate in this area. Our best goes out to all the people in Houston, in Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, all throughout the areas that were really affected by terrible hurricanes. Hope that they can recover soon.